I love this question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this question. Yeah, the meaning of life. If there's a meaning of life, like where is it? Is it out there? Is it under a rock, or where do you find it?
Welcome back, everyone, to Fighters of Perth, the show where we aim to get to know our fighters here in Perth a little bit better, their story and their journey, and hopefully make a new friend along the way. My guest with me today, Leo Nguyen. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure too, man. And Leo, my guest for this week, has had 28 fights, fought for 3 state titles, defended his WBC title 4 times as well. He's fought some of the best names in the Muay Thai scene, Ben Worsfold, Jack 300. You fought Prupswek as well?
Prupswek.
Nathan, the dreaded one, Embleton, had some fights there. So, yeah, he fought some pretty big names. An awesome fighter to watch. So it's an absolute pleasure for me to have you down on the show.
Thank you.
So,
nice to be here.
Sorry, man. I interrupted you there. So, yeah, let's just get started, man. I like to start the show off with your origin story, how you got into Muay Thai, how you found it, how you found out about it, the journey to your first few fights, and we can just kick off from there.
Yeah, I started Muay Thai in 2009, in the 2000 where, Muay Thai was really big on K1 scenes.
Yes.
And Walkout was dominating in K1 scenes in Japan at the time. And that's inspired me to do Muay Thai, because I thought Muay Thai is such a strong, dominant stand-up style compared to other disciplines in the K1 setting. As well as, just in striking in general. So, that's what inspired me to do Muay Thai. So, I started out at a gym in Kennington, like in 2009. Trained there for about 2.5, 3 years, had 2 fights out there. It's a while ago, and I never really took it that serious back then. So to me, that was just to get my foot through the door.
Well, it's just been more of an experiment with what it's like.
Exactly. At that, at my early 20s, where just like every other young guys, we like to engage in activities like that, and just a good outlet for the energy that you have. It's a good way to keep the body healthy and strong, and good socializing environment. So that's what got me into Muay Thai. After the 2 fights, I think from 2012 is when the gym closed down.
Right.
So I didn't have a direction after that in terms of fighting career, because it's an unwritten rule in this sport. Like you stay loyal to your gym, and that's how I felt as well about martial arts, and having your trainers and teammates and all of that. I think the loyalty quality is very important in this sport. So I didn't have a place to train until the closest to sort of that circle is Sangmarakot in O'Connor. And for me at the time, I knew some of the fighters that were fighting out there at the time, so I thought it would be quite exciting to join and maybe get back into fighting. But when I got there, the team sort of scattered, and for me to make the travel down there 45 minutes each way, it was not practical with my lifestyle, with my working hours. So I had to look for another gym around me, like around my area, and so was in the list to trial out a couple of gym that's the Pit and Calsock.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wonder why you didn't go try at Calsock, because it would have been a lot closer than travelling all the way to SMG if you're close to the Cannington area.
Yeah, that was in the plan. Me and my other friend was trialing out, was planning to trial out the pit and Kawasaki. But when we got to the pit, did a session there and sat down by the ring with Blair after. Just have a good laugh, and I really like the vibe there, and I feel like I can sense really. I can sense a sense of closeness between the members, between the fighters, and Blair has created that really brotherhood.
Yeah. You felt a sense of camaraderie there.
Yeah, that sense of camaraderie. I really liked it, and been there ever since. Have 26 fights out of there. Fought the WBC title 4 times. The Nikon on Tom.
I wanted to ask about that. Yeah. We'll get to that later. Well, let's talk about your first fight then out of the pit. What was that like? Who did you fight? And let's talk about your first fight. Let's actually backtrack a little bit. Let's go to your first Muay Thai fight ever. How was that experience? What was your preparation like for that fight? And then we can talk about what it was like after you had that break and you fought out of the pit.
When I at Kennington, the gym was Kennington Kickboxing, and that's changed to Red Dragon Muay Thai when one of Jatu's sons took over.
Yeah.
So I was, at the time, was the only fighter in the gym. So we didn't really have a strong team around me in terms of like preparation for a fight. The training is very similar with everywhere else. You do your run and you do your pad works and conditioning at the end.
Very traditional style.
Yeah, sparring a few times a week. But yeah, like I said, I didn't have other fighter to train with, so I had no idea what to expect in that first fight, and I thought I was quite confident, gauging from the sparring session that I had, throughout the preparations. But when I come out and when this actually happens, like when the fight starts, that's when I get overwhelmed with all the feeling. I'm like, wow, there's a crowd and this light shining in my face, and
very surreal moment.
Yeah, and my, I think a lot of people would have similar experience. Like you froze a little bit for a moment, and you're like, oh, I'm in a fight, and you think about using the technique that you practiced in the gym, but it's really different when someone is on the other side, really trying to hurt you. So the level of practice in sparring can only prepare you so much, but mentally you need a lot more calmness and more focus than that. So yeah, the first fight. Which is a good experience to see where I'm at with my skills level, with my conditioning. And my trainer was happy with that. So I couldn't. I didn't think much about it. Just basically just go back to the gym.
Did you end up winning that fight? Or?
No, I didn't win that fight. It was a really good fight. No, I didn't win the fight. And the other person won by decision. But
which, for anyone that doesn't really watch Muay Thai, they're new to it, what people don't always realize is that you can have a super close fight, and it can just, they get the decision. Anyone would watch that fight and be like, all right, both of those people that were in that ring were just warriors, but it was just one person just didn't throw quite as many shots. So sometimes it's like, winning, losing. Yes, there is a winner, there is a loser, and yes, you can have fights where the one person dominates, but a lot of the time, the way Muay Thai is matched, it's two people head to head, like usually very even levels. It's really hard to tell. That's why sometimes even the judges get it wrong. So there's sometimes a bit of hesitation, like, I won that fight, lost that fight, because people who don't understand, I feel like they I know when you say you lost a fight, they think they're just automatically
You just got beat up.
You just got beat up. You got
Yeah.
dominated by some guys. Like it's not quite how it works, you know.
Yeah, so that take me to the second fight out of Red Dragon when I fought James Rowland from Champion.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember, but James was doing really well.
Yes, no, I
I think he got all the way undefeated to his state title. So yeah, I fought him for my second fight, and yeah, he has really good boxing skill coming from Champion, and I was a kicker. So that's the one that was quite controversial, where when after 3 rounds, when they announced the scorecard, the crowd was booing at the decision, and at the same time, it's a bit hard to judge that fight, because if one person's really favoring punches and doing damage with their punching, the other person doing really well with kicks, actually, pushing and moving the other person with their kicks. Now it comes down to what does the judge like? To traditional Thai scoring,
kicking is always more than punching.
Kicking always more, but in Western world, like if the punch is leaving damage and being effective, they tend to score that as well, which is fair. So yeah, that's one of those fights that was quite controversial.
Yeah.
If you stick to the Thai game, just kick and move, and then you get a big punch land on you, does that mean you're losing all the points, or the kick's still in favor? So yeah, it's a good learning curve for me, which I take into the next fight. Like, you can't just do one thing. You're gonna try to apply all the different skills, not just offensive but good defense as well. So that takes me to the first fight out of the pit.
Yeah.
I fought Lucas Sayer.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lucas is doing really well now. But yeah, that's my first fight out of the pit versus Lucas on Futures in Mandurah. So it was
How was the preparation for that fight? What was something that the pit did different? I mean, other than having a really strong team with you, because obviously there's a lot of really good guys there, was there anything you did different for preparation for that fight than you did when you were at Red Dragon Muay Thai?
Yeah.
Well, what was the difference in preparation? How did you feel going in the fight? And give us some details about the actual fight, like how it went.
Yeah, so it's a world different when you have a strong team beside you, because the training routine could be the same, but when you're training, you basically have to compete with your training partners. And if you look at my training partners at that time, there'd be Toby, there'd be Roy, there'd be heaps of strong boys.
Yeah.
So the training was hard. The pad rounds were hard. The sparring were hard because you got these killers like coming at you. And Blair style, they don't, Blair doesn't baby you.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, all right, yeah, take a rest, mate, or, it's just, all right, let's see what you got. So the training, the preparation out of the pit, it was quite tough. If you haven't done anything similar before, it's definitely an eye-opener of what world-level fighters are doing. Because, at the time, there's Toby and Roy are at the world level, and there's definitely no messing about. You come home from sparring, like we do have people with broken arms and like broken nose and ribs quite often in sparring, so it's not everything, but it's quite a important part in prepping for a fight. Like, you could have the most beautiful techniques and all the skills in the world, but you don't have that toughness, that dog in you, then like you can't really use it. And when you're in a hard fight, you're just gonna you're just gonna fall
You're gonna
apart.
crumble because you're not used to that pressure. You're not used to that intensity.
Yeah.
That's a big topic of like how much hard sparring do you really need for it to carry over and prepare you for a fight versus how much more lighter technical sparring. At what point does the hard sparring kind of get diminished returns from that,
Yeah.
to which point is it detrimental, which maybe that's a conversation for another time. I don't want to hijack your story,
Yeah.
but it is an interesting topic.
Yeah, so I felt I had really good preparation going to that first fight, and yeah, just went straight in there. Was very confident with my skills and 2 minutes round. So you just gotta go on the fast pace. It was a good back and forth fight. We both. I was really good with my combos, like landing my punches and following up with kicks. Lucas was really good, was quite strong in the clinch and good at catching my kick and take me down. So it was a good clash of style at that level. I really enjoyed that fight. Just push a little bit harder and land a few better shots to secure the win in that one, so was quite happy with it.
Were you more nervous for your very first fight, or were you more nervous for your first fight out of the pit? Because I guess for your first fight, there's almost like this ignorance. You don't know what it's going to be like, but then once you've had a fight, you kind of know how hard and intense it is. It's almost this. You actually understand like what you're about to go through. So yeah, were you more nervous in the first one or the second first fight, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, I don't actually remember being that nervous, especially that first fight out of the pit. I remember there were four of us on the card, and I was the last one. So we had a loss, a draw, I think 3 of us, yeah. So, and I was just waiting backstage, warming up, and we had a really good crew coming down. So we're just sitting in the change room and chatting to my friends, and it relaxes me, and it was like I didn't have that. I don't remember having that nervous at all for that fight, but there are times. There are times I definitely experience that.
The pre-fight nerves.
That pre-fight nerve, yeah. When later on, when the fights get a bit more serious, the boys are well prepped, and it's always going to be war. So yeah, you do get a little bit of heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. How do you manage your pre-fight nerves? Do you have a ritual, and would you give what kind of advice would you give to anyone that's maybe going to have their first fight, or maybe they've had a few fights and they still aren't quite, they don't know how to manage those nerves before a fight? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so the nerve always going to be there, and it's a pretty daunting part of fighting, because you basically going into a realm of uncertainty that you don't know what's going to happen. For example, if you're prepping for a dance, you can just rehearse, and you're going to kill it when you go out there. But with fighting, you can prep, but anything could happen. You might get caught with a random shot and then just get knocked out. You don't know. So that's the scary part of it. So I didn't have a way to deal with it until maybe my 10th fight.
Right.
I think the 4th fight out of the pit, where all the pads come off and I'm fighting someone with much more experience than me. I was quite nervous for that one, but then I just remember when I got rubbed down and then started skipping, and it was at the Italian club. So it was in the basement, in the change room, in one of the room, and it has a mirror. It's weird. So I was standing in front of the mirror and I was skipping, and I look at myself in the mirror, and somehow like just tuning into that, like somehow it really gave me the confidence. Like I reflect back onto, because I could see myself. I see how well I built and how hard I remember how hard I train, and I just see myself in the mirror skipping and staying focused. I'm like, hey, like I, I can do this. I can do this. Like I shouldn't be afraid of it. I did everything I could, and I'm in a phenomenal shape, and I shouldn't be afraid. So that was the beginning of how I developed a tool to manage my anxiety and nerve before the fight. Is that apart from obviously you're going to train hard, leaving no stone unturned, then you got nothing to blame on or excuse to make. Apart from that, I learned to detach myself from the experience.
Interesting. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, from my body, from the whole experience itself. So sit back and just watch everything as an observer instead of the person who like participating in it. If you think that if you look at your body like a vessel, like an Iron Man suit, and you should sort of like sit back and have that awareness of your condition, have the awareness of your ability, and switching it to something that is exciting, as in, well, let's see what this body can do. Let's see what this suit can do, and you kind of have to expect that you're going to get hurt. If you accept that you're going to get hurt, and you accept that there's a chance that you might fail, might lose, or might get knocked out, or people might laugh at you, all these fears that everyone would have. If you accept that there's a chance of that would happen, but let's just see the experience, let's just see the story unfold. Just watching it from like an observer perspective, like I said, it's really like lighten a lot on the shoulders, and I feel like I feel like it's a lot more enjoyable. Like I can have fun with it, instead of like so like everything's about me, and like just really tighten up and like thinking about what's gonna happen. Whatever happens, gonna happen. But yeah, accepting that there are things that you can't control. There are things that you can control. So let's focus on the things that you can control.
And especially if you've done all the preparation, you're going there with that confidence that it's like, man, this person's going to be really good to beat me, or like if I get knocked out, I get knocked out. But there's no like, oh man, I should have done this. I should have trained a little bit harder or whatever. You're just going there with that confidence. And I think that would make a world of a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Changing gears a little bit now, let's talk about one of your fights with someone that's really respected in the local Muay Thai scene. I think he's done now, but been fighting for quite a while in Perth, and was just disrespecting people in the sense of just playing with them, and that's Jack 300. Not many people I think have had wins over him. I think Roy being one of them, and yourself. So what is that like, fighting Jack 300? Talk about leading up to the fight and then the fight itself.
When we got the news that we matched with Jack for MTGP, the trainers, so Roy being the head coach, and I had Sam Valentine was being one of the pad holders who had experience working or fighting with Jack. They straight away have this confidence in me because they could see that I'm on my way up. I seen like I'm going to my prime, and Jack sort of started hitting that decline in his career, and he hasn't been as active in the past few years. So yeah, we were quite excited for it. the prep was very the prep was very it was a technical prep. Like I rolled into that camp from another camp, so I was already conditioned. I was already fit. We basically working a lot on the tactics and working a lot on the strategy, how to beat Jack. We know that he's crafty and he really good with his kicks and he trickies and all of that. So we basically laid out all the scenarios. What if he does this? We're gonna do that, and it worked really well in the fight. So yeah, it was such a smooth camp preparation as well as the fight, because it was one of those fights where not just myself but my trainers, like everyone was really in tune. Everyone was on the same page of drawing out like a perfect strategy to beat him, and the execution. So
everything just aligned. It just worked out.
Everything was
perfect,
aligned in that fight, and I felt it went. It couldn't go. It couldn't go better the way it went.
Was there anything that you did find challenging?
I thought at the beginning of the round where he's got really good footwork, closing distance quickly, start using his trick. I thought that could be an issue at the beginning of the fight, but then at the same time, I know if I'm the one with better conditioning here, if I keep pushing, if I keep staying in front of him, make him think, make him hesitate, then I have a good chance of beating him, rather than sit back and allowing him to have that time to does what he does. So that was a plan, and it worked well in that fight.
Yeah. Now, obviously, like with the results speak for themselves, But I think it must feel pretty good to get a win over someone of that level. I mean, you fought obviously other Thais as well, but that's just must be a bit of a confidence boost. Make you feel pretty good about yourself. So I think I think there's something about like when you can fight someone of really high standard, like not just anyone, but people who have shown, really high quality Muay Thai, and then you can get the victory over them. I think I just think it just reinforces that, like, man, like I'm good at this, like.
Yeah, it does.
That's probably a bit of an egotistical thing to think about. But I think it's cool to have those little moments of reassurance, like I can really go far in this.
Yeah, not in a negative way. I felt really good with the result of the fight. But at the same time, what I focus on is throughout the fight. What I focus on is display skills, displays this respect and appreciation for everyone that involved, basically. So from the show, the promoters, team of trainers, Jack himself, because to me, some of the fight is not so much of a fight, but it's more of a contest to showcase your skills. It's not so much about hurting the other person, because if you like the Muay Thai in stadium in Thailand, they don't always just go for the kills. They don't always just...
No, it's very different.
Yeah. So they have this mutual respect, and they play on the skill game, which I really enjoy. Having that with Jack being his last fight as well before he retired. So I want the people in the audience to see that aspect of Muay Thai as well. It's not just two guys in the ring smashing each other, trying to kill each other and inflicting pain on each other. It's not just that at all. There's this beautiful thing about the sport that doesn't get like showcased in the Western world as
Not as
often.
much, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I really like felt good about after that fight. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I messed up. I fluffed around a lot in the beginning while setting up for this podcast, chewing a lot of the time that we have. So I definitely think it'd be a good idea for us to do a part 2 because I had a lot more which I wanted to ask you. But I will end with this, and you probably know what's coming, right? What do you think is the meaning of life?
I love this question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this question. The meaning of life. If there's a meaning of life, like where is it? Is it out there? Is it under a rock, or where do you find it? The meaning of life. It's such a big question. But personally, from a human being perspective, I think it's all relating to a present moment. Okay. So the past is the memory, and it appears as a thought in this present moment. The future is yet to be participate, and same again. It's just a thought that arise in this moment. So, to me, through my experience, life. There are so much in life that we take for granted. We constantly think about meaning of life just to satisfy this thinking mind. But in this moment of present, where you are, everything around you is already the beauty of life, whatever it might be, the beauty of existence. So, and oftentimes we don't notice until it's gone. For example, we don't know, like we take our health and physical ability for granted until it's gone. Until if you have a broken arm and you can't do something, you can't dress yourself and can't do a certain thing, you're like, damn, it was really useful having that arm.
Yeah.
How beautiful is it to have the arm?
Even something which you wouldn't even regard, like your pinky toe or your big toe, you're like, man, like life is so much more difficult when I can't use just my little toe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're never happy with what you have, and you always have to seek out for something that is more meaningful, that is more fulfilling, just to satisfy this thinking mind. So I don't think that the meaning of life, I don't know if there's a meaning to existence itself, but I know that we have the power to connect to the higher power. We have the ability to connect to a higher conscious, to a higher power, and that determines the meanings of what you experience. So
very interesting.
Yeah. So what consists, or let's just say the perception of a human being is based on two things: is consciousness and the profound of the experience. So it's more so what you can perceive, then that is what you will see, and that will be it, the meaning of life. What you can interpret from what you see, and it never ends there. I don't know if you yourself or some of your audience might have had a mushroom experience. Now, I think, but the common story is that people go out and hug trees. Why is that something that you never pay attention to? You never think twice about it. All of a sudden, you go out and have this connection with it.
Yeah, this connection with everything around you.
Yeah. So I guess because in that state, you able to expand that consciousness and be able to perceive things from a completely different perspective. So I think we have the power to create meanings of life within our own consciousness.
Right.
Outside of that, I don't know. Outside of that, I don't know if this whole existence has a meaning or has a purpose, but but I know I can create this meaning of whatever I see and whatever I do. I can create the meaning of it. Yeah.
I like that perspective. I love quite a few things to unpack there, and I think I'll probe you on some of those things in the next one. But man, thank you so much for coming down. It's been an awesome chat. A bit shorter and sweeter than the first run, but it is what it is, man. But this has been really good fun. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.